Today, we're taking a close practical look at two of the most respected HF radios in the amateur radio world, the Yaesu FTDX10 and the Icom IC-7610. Both have earned loyal followings, both deliver high-level receiver performance, and both are favorites among operators who want serious capability without jumping all the way to flagship-level prices. They're often compared, but once you break them down category by category, it becomes clear that they serve two very different types of operators. So let's walk through this step by step, and by the end, you'll know exactly which one matches the way you like to operate. Let's start with the basics, how each radio is built, and what it feels like on your desk during real operation. The Yaesu FTDX10 brings a compact but dense design that feels incredibly solid for its footprint. The front panel is loaded with controls, knobs, buttons, and direct access keys, giving it a very traditional Yaesu character. Everything is close together, and while that keeps a rig small, it also means the layout can feel a bit tight, especially if you have bigger hands or prefer more breathing room between controls. The Icom IC-7610, on the other hand, is much larger and immediately feels like a high-end base rig. The layout is clean, the knobs are well spaced, and the big 7-inch touchscreen dominates the front panel. It gives you a sense of space and premium ergonomics that the smaller FTDX10 simply can't match. The build quality reflects Icom's higher-end DNA, and the controls feel noticeably roomier and more modern. The next question is, how do they behave the moment you start tuning and pulling signals out of the noise? This is where the core differences really start to show, and where both rigs earn their reputations. The FTDX10 is known for its exceptional narrow signal performance. Yaesu's hybrid SDR architecture, combining a down conversion superhet with a narrowband SDR path and crystal roofing filters, gives it excellent close-in dynamic range and strong handling of strong adjacent signals. It's a radio that thrives when the band is packed or when you're chasing DX in difficult, noisy conditions. Meanwhile, the Icom IC-7610 approaches performance from a full RF direct sampling SDR perspective. You get dual independent receivers, spectrum scopes for each receiver, and a system that supports diversity reception when used with two antennas and the main sub-tracking function enabled. The large high-resolution spectrum scope makes it incredibly easy to watch activity across the band, and the noise reduction and filtering tools are very clean and effective, especially on weak signals. So performance-wise, it becomes a question of priorities. If you want top-tier, close-in performance and incredible signal handling in crowded situations, the FTDX10 stands out. If you want dual receivers, a more pure SDR experience, and powerful band awareness through a larger scope, the IC-7610 takes the lead. Moving on, let's see what are the differences when it comes to features and functionality. The FTDX10 keeps things compact and practical. You get a high-quality hybrid SDR receiver with down conversion and roofing filters. One of the best roofing filter systems in its class, 500 Hz, 3 kHz, 12 kHz options, excellent noise reduction and interference rejection tools, a clean but small spectrum scope compared to full-size rigs, and a design that prioritizes tactile control over heavy touchscreen use. It's a focused radio, loaded with capability, but not crowded with extras. The Icom IC-7610, by contrast, is built like a mini IC-7851. You get full RF direct sampling SDR architecture on HF 50 MHz, dual independent receivers with their own front ends and ADCs, a large responsive 7-inch touchscreen, a big detailed waterfall and dual spectrum scopes with around 100 decibel scope dynamic range, and smooth integration with Icom's software ecosystem and remote control options. Overall, the operating experience feels closer to a high-end base station than a compact mid-range radio. It's packed with capability, but it's also larger and more complex, giving you more menus and more advanced tools to manage. And once you understand the feature sets, it's time to consider how each radio feels to use day to day. So let's move into real-world usability. This is where personal preferences really come into play. The FTDX10 earns praise for its strong performance in a compact body, but the front panel is undeniably dense. There are a lot of controls in a small space, and the touchscreen, while useful, isn't as central to the experience as Icom's implementation. Some operators even prefer using a stylus to avoid pressing the wrong function on the smaller display. The Icom IC-7610 takes a much more modern approach. The large, clean layout and a big touchscreen make it easier to navigate menus, change filters, and manage settings without feeling cramped. The dual receiver capability also elevates the operating experience, especially for contesting, monitoring multiple frequencies, split operation, or DX hunting. If you prefer a small radio with real knobs and immediate control, the FTDX10 feels great. If you prefer a modern SDR workflow with spacious ergonomics and a more visual style of operating, the IC-7610 feels even better. Moving on, let's take a closer look at how each radio handles power requirements and overall station footprint, because that's an area where the difference is obvious. If your goal is to build a compact desk setup, or you have limited space, this category really matters. The FTDX10 is significantly smaller and lighter. It's a 100-watt HF 500 MHz transceiver that fits easily on small desks, in tight setups, or in portable cases for field deployment. It runs from a standard 13.8-volt station supply, but the physical footprint is where it really shines. You get serious performance without needing a huge amount of space. The Icom IC-7610, however, is much closer to a full-size base station. It's also a 100-watt HF 15 MHz rig, but it's wider, taller, and heavier, clearly designed for a more permanent installation rather than portable or space-limited situations. With that size comes the advantage of easier control spacing and a much larger display that's more comfortable to use for long sessions. With power and size covered, there's one last practical aspect that affects long-term user satisfaction: how each radio sounds and feels during extended operating sessions. This is the part you notice after a few hours on the air, and it's more important than many operators realize. The FTDX10 has warm, punchy Yaesu-style audio that many operators enjoy. With some adjustment, it delivers excellent clarity, and transmit audio can be tailored to your voice very effectively using the built-in EQ and processing. Ergonomically, though, the crowded front panel means your hands stay closer together, and long sessions can feel a bit more cramped if you're constantly riding multiple controls. The Icom IC-7610 offers smooth, clean audio right out of the box, both on receive and transmit, and also includes flexible TX audio shaping. The bigger controls, larger display, and spacious layout make it noticeably more comfortable to use for extended periods. Everything feels deliberate and relaxed, which becomes a real advantage during long contest weekends or DX marathons. And with all those covered, it's time to bring everything together with a clear conclusion. So which radio should you choose? If you want incredible close-in performance, a compact footprint, and a radio that excels in crowded band or weak signal situations, the Yaesu FTDX10 is a phenomenal choice. It's powerful, precise, and perfect for operators who want big performance in a smaller package. But if you want a full direct sampling SDR experience, dual independent receivers, a large waterfall, and an operating workflow that feels smooth, open, and modern, the Icom IC-7610 is the better choice. It's built for operators who want a high-end base station feel and serious band awareness without paying true flagship prices.